Welcome back to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. Breaking news, Nick Castellanos has been released from the Philadelphia Phillies. We kind of all saw this coming, right? When spring training was about a week away, so like last week, we were like, man, they better get this situation resolved, or like there's going to be questions like, is he going to report to camp? Is he going to be told to stay home like he was? It was just like all roads led to Nick Castellanos getting released. Now, at the end of the year, everyone knew Nick Castellanos' time in Philadelphia was coming to an end. Dave Dombrowski basically said that in his press conference, to where not the brightest moves, Dave. Like, I get it. Everyone probably knows you're getting rid of him, but why on earth would you say that? Like, for all the times Dave Dombrowski gives the most politically correct answer, which we don't really like, it's GM talk. That was the time to give the politically correct GM answer. You should have just said, he's on our roster. We're going to see how things go. But as of right now, he's in our plans for 2026. Still probably wouldn't have made a difference. Still probably end in the same scenario we did today where you released him. But things could have been avoided. To where before I get into Nick Castellanos, his time in Philadelphia, the special moments, the down moments, the incident with Rob, all this, that, and the third, I think this offseason has been an utter crap disaster. And if you disagree, you just haven't been watching, because it's not just the moves they haven't made or the moves they have had made. It's the way they've been going about their business. The Bo Bichette thing, not seeing that he's been playing you, not understanding that JT doesn't have a market, pivoting, panicking, looking like a second fiddle organization. And this is the icing on the cake of looking like a second fiddle organization. Why on earth would you let the Nick Castellanos situation drag into spring training? What did you think was going to happen between yesterday and today, in the sense of what, an outfielder was going to get hurt and someone was like going to look to pick up Nick Castellanos on a 1-year deal to where they would eat $1 million of the contract? This should have been resolved at minimum 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't. Now, I've heard people defending the Phillies saying, well, they're trying to get some sort of value. You were never getting any value for Nick Castellanos, to where the fact that he was still on the roster the first days of pitchers and catchers, you put a dark cloud around the organization, which is what you were trying to prevent when you said he was not coming back to the team. But you kept him on the team. Everyone knows he was told to stay home. There wasn't a locker for him. But what does the Philadelphia media do when someone's on their roster and there's turmoil? They eat it up, to where the first day of pitchers and catchers, we were talking about Nick Castellanos. For what reason, if he wasn't going to be on the team? And this goes back to Dave Dombrowski. It is time for him to leave. He's done. He has 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door. He doesn't care. And this is on John Middleton to see that and let him go. And let's get Preston Mattingly in the organization. He's already the GM. Let's make him the president of baseball operations, because most likely that's what's going to happen next year. Why are we giving Dombrowski 1 more year? He's shown this offseason time after time again. It's not just bad decisions. It's incompetence from a level of an organization that's supposed to be top tier. You spend money like you're top tier, but you're not acting like it. To where I just think the way they handled this whole situation was utter nonsense. I get holding out on seeing to get any sort of value for him, because that is your due diligence. It's not about Nick Castellanos. He's getting paid $20 million. But it's not in the sense of, oh, poor Nick. It's in the sense of the first day of pitchers and catchers, our new journey for the 2026 season, and they're asking questions about a player that everyone knows won't be on the roster. So why was he on the roster? Why did you release him the next day instead of doing it 2 weeks ago? You panicked again. The Bo Bichette signing, pivoting JT, was a panic. The releasing him today instead of 2 weeks ago, it's panic because you saw what the backlash was with the media. You should have known that was going to happen, to where I'm just so sick of Dave Dombrowski. I'm done. I cannot wait for the day when he leaves this organization. But let's get into Nick Castellanos. So basically, the whole pinnacle of this happened last year in the Miami situation, when Rob Thompson benched him the next day for an inappropriate comment. We now know what happened in that Miami incident. So basically, Nick Castellanos wasn't happy that Rob Thompson took him out for defensive purposes when his family and friends were there, right? In my head, I'm like, well, I can see where he's coming from, because this was the first time he's doing it, in the sense of, why didn't Rob make that decision before, right? Why is it the first time you're doing this is in front of his family? So I can understand Nick Castellanos' point. Now we come to find out that Nick brought a beer into the dugout after the game, or during the game, and he was about to drink it. He said, luckily, Howie Kendrick stopped him from drinking it. And then after the game, Nick Castellanos talked to Rob Thompson about how he feels like his restrictions on certain rules, but his looseness with others does not attribute to winning. And then they talked to Dave Dombrowski. They kind of aired everything out. We all know Rob Thompson and Nick Castellanos didn't see eye to eye, but now we get a little more clarification. I mean, obviously, you can't bring alcohol into the dugout to where, like, of course, yeah, to get suspended to where I don't think that specific issue is what caused everything afterwards. It was more just the media taking it and run with it. Now, we know Philadelphia media is going to do that, right? That's their job, is to get clicks, get engagement. But they blew it way out of proportion to the times where it was even much for Philadelphia media. It was like the city at one point in Arizona, when they kept asking him about, is he happy? He's like, dude, lay off. To where that's what I feel like attributed to the ending of Nick Castellanos in Philadelphia. He didn't play well after that Miami incident. We all know that. He lost his starting job to Max Kepler, to where Max Kepler was playing against righties, Nick Castellanos was playing against lefties. And we know that Nick Castellanos on the defensive side is not a good player, to where the writing was on the wall. Like 2025, his time in Philadelphia ended in Miami and ended when the media took it and ran with it. But before I get into like the production and all that kind of stuff, I want to talk about Nick Castellanos, the father, because I mean, all the clips of him and Liam just taking batting practice, him just bringing him out to the field, giving him that kind of experience, because obviously 99% of kids don't have that. But when you just see the clips, you're just like, man, Nick Castellanos is a good dude, and he just cares about his kids. And I remember I went to a game to Atlanta with my dad. I live in Florida now, so we took a trip up to Truist Park to see the stadium. Great time. And when we went to the Sunday game, we got there early, like 11 o'clock or so. There he was, Nick Castellanos and Liam just shagging fly balls. And it just goes to the point, Nick Castellanos is definitely an interesting human being, in the sense of, like, he kind of goes to the beat of his own drum. I respect that. Sometimes it might rub people the wrong way, but when Nick Castellanos first is a great father, a great husband, and a great teammate, to where, yes, the production was not what it should have been for his contract. But when you're a good dude and you go off to another organization and you didn't really wrong us, I want nothing but the best for you. I hope Nick Castellanos gets on with another team, whether it's Miami, Pittsburgh, one of the lower teams. And I hope he has a great year to where it can lead into him getting another major league deal. Because I love Nick Castellanos. I think for all the lack of production, he made up for it for when he was a teammate and his playoff moments. And let's just get into the playoff moments. I mean, game one against the Braves, that sliding catch, saving a triple, probably saves game one in that series. And if we lose game one against the Braves, we might not have that magical run to where we got Bryce Harper's picture on my wall sending us to the World Series, Bedlam at the bank. Game one of the World Series against the Astros, that diving catch in extra innings to send it to extra innings, to where we would lose that game. Granted, we lost the series anyway, but great moment. 2023, I mean, what he did against Strider, game four of the National League Division Series, will be remembered in Phillies history forever. I just can't even explain the euphoric feeling of seeing that ball go into the moon in the sixth inning when he made it 3-1 for his second home run of the game. And then 2024, he was the second best hitter compared to Bryce Harper. And he was like neck and neck, to where he showed up when it mattered. And we'll go to 2025. He pokes a pitch from Blake Trinan in the other's batter's box down the left field line to make it 4-3. And he's at second base, nobody out. We're not going to talk about what happened afterwards. I feel like that was more of a Rob Thompson blunder than Nick Castellanos blunder on the bump, whatever. And then game four, like, he had the hit to give us the lead to where we're up 1-0 against the Dodgers. We all know what happened afterwards, but Nick Castellanos was a playoff riser. I don't disagree with moving on from him, because it's like, you can't really take the playoff sample size, especially how last year ended, to where it was time for him to go. But that's what I'll remember about Nick Castellanos in his time in Philadelphia. The playoff moments, him as a father, him as a teammate, him giving the quote-unquote unpopular answer in his post-game interview. Like, he's just real. That's just who he is. And let's just get into the contract. So he didn't live up to it. He didn't live up to 5 years, $100 million. He had a career 1.5 WAR average in this time in Philadelphia with a 732 OPS. That's not going to cut it for someone that's making $20 million a year. So that sucks, because when we signed Nick Castellanos, we signed him as a right-handed bat to protect Bryce Harper. And that's not what Nick Castellanos was. He had it in spurts, but not for the longevity that we needed for him. To where now we're kind of hamstrung financially to where we can't make any more big moves because the payroll is already at $300 million. So overall, would I do the Nick Castellanos signing again if I knew everything in hindsight? I would not. But that's not reality. To where I will remember Nick Castellanos for being a very interesting, very real playoff riser, interesting guy, but I will remember the good side of Nick Castellanos to where I wish nothing but the best for him, his sons, his daughter, his wife, his whole family. I wish nothing but the best for him. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a real, authentic guy to where we don't have many of those left in Major League Baseball. So let me know what you guys think about Nick Castellanos, his time in Philadelphia, all the 4 years, all the incidents, all the playoff moments, the highs, the lows. Just tell me everything you would like to know about Nick Castellanos. And that'll do it for this episode of Baseball for Maniacs. Good luck, Nick. Wish you nothing but the best.